But as long as we're doing plugs, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you should comment on our YouTube channel how Brian's lazy eye creeps you out.
Welcome to the Old Fashioned Real Estate Show, where hosts Brian Leverage and Jeffrey Holst pour our old fashioned real estate advice.
Episode 34.
Welcome back to the Old Fashioned Real Estate Show. He's Jeff Holst. I'm not.
That's true. Hey, on a side note, I've already filmed 3 shows with this shirt on, so I'm going to take it off a second. This is fine to leave in the show. I hope that there you go. Look at that. All right. See that? I've called me old-fashioned. Wait, was that the Superman?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. We never film more than one show at once, and we can tell because I'm wearing something completely different than last time.
Man in black.
That's right. Call
Johnny
me
Holst.
old-fashioned. That's right. Something like that. Anyway, so
have you ever been to Folsom Prison?
Not recently.
Okay. Just
Or
checking.
ever.
Yeah.
I have been to prison before when I was practicing law. I was visiting someone.
Yeah.
It's a little different than actually going to prison, though,
Sure.
because you can leave.
Yeah.
which is actually really helpful. Anyway, so we're going to talk about a super important topic today. Mm-hmm. And what was that topic?
Getting money.
That's right. How to get money for your first real estate investment.
Yeah, I have no idea. No, that's a joke.
And
a bad one.
It's real bad.
So we wouldn't really have an episode to discuss if we actually both didn't know how to get money for real estate.
Well, you have done one deal, right?
To be fair, more than one.
Same with me. So we must have figured this out.
Yeah.
So it's really not about getting money for the principles here, just to be clear, if you already have done your first deal, apply to your second, third, fourth, fifth, 20th deal. It doesn't matter. But
then you should go to our website at oldfashionedrealestate.com and put in your information so we can contact you.
yes, we would be happy to talk to you. We do a 15-minute free coaching call where you can talk to one of us or even sometimes both if you're really lucky.
Yeah, sometimes Jeff doesn't plug this stuff enough. I feel like I'm always leading the charge there.
It's clearly not the case. But as long as we're doing plugs, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you should comment on our YouTube channel how Brian's lazy eye creeps you out. This is the first episode we filmed today, which is why we're hilarious.
Yeah.
Deeply. By the way, notice my drink is darker.
It's changed color than the 2 previous episodes we filmed today.
Which is proof that it's a different episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that you've drinking more than one. So.
And that I added cherries to it, which will make it a superior drink.
Not at all. So that being said, most people tend to think, right, I got to have 25% down, I need to have my bank financing, and we're here to tell you that actually that's partially true in that sense, but there are other ways.
That's right. So we're going to talk about the things that you can do to find money for your first deal. And the most obvious way is to save up money, right? So you could get a side hustle, right? You could cut your expenses. You could live in your mom's basement. You can do all those kind of things. Don't go out to eat. Quit smoking. Whatever it is that you can do to save money and eventually save up $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for a down payment. And I'm not sure that that's the best strategy, but it is something that you could do to get money for your first deal.
Yeah.
Another strategy would be to make sure that your first deal is something that you can get into for a lower amount down. So, for example, you could save up a 3.5% down payment if you were going to buy a property to live in yourself, right? And now you might say, well, if I'm living in it myself, how is that my first deal? But the truth is, if you bought a duplex, a triplex, or a quad that way, you could get 3.5% down. Maybe you pay $10,000 down and get a duplex.
Yeah, well, or you could even, if it's just a house, you could live in one room and you could potentially rent out, several of the other rooms.
Sure, you could do short-term rentals. Yeah. You can generate income. And by the way, there's a strategy called short-term rent arbitrage, where you basically rent a property and then use it as a short-term rental.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you need to make sure it's okay, that you're complying with the local laws, that your landlord allows you to do this, right? Because I would be offended if someone tried to do that in one of my properties without telling me and disclosing it. But if I have in my lease that the person's allowed to sublet to short-term rentals, then that might be a way that they could get into producing income from real estate without actually buying anything.
That's true. That's true. But, we are talking about actually coming up with money to do real estate deals, regardless.
Well, you could use that money to buy your first property.
You could. You could also borrow it from a family member, right?
Sure. So if you have a rich uncle.
Aforementioned rich uncle.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Some people actually never talk to their uncle about investing in their real estate deals.
Brian, for example, never talks to his uncle about
That's true.
Yeah. So if you have somebody in your family that can loan you some money to invest, or then that might be an option. And those people, by the way, they don't necessarily have to be your rich uncle or your rich parent. It could be your mother-in-law has $40,000 in a 401k that she doesn't know what to do with.
Yeah.
And that person might be able to loan you money, and it's a win-win situation.
True. When we talk about getting money out of self-directed retirement accounts, there are some restrictions. You do need to talk to your tax advisor about that, as we're not here to give you
advice. By the way, mother-in-law is a terrible example for that.
Because it's disqualified.
Let's say your aunt has some money in her 401k and wants to convert it to a self-directed retirement account and use that money.
But on that note, people with self-directed IRAs are a good source as long as they're not disqualified individuals, based on IRS standards.
And speaking of retirement accounts, potentially if you are employed and you have a 401k, you might even be able to borrow against your own 401k.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you can even use what's called like transactional funding or hard money, depending on what your strategy is, of course, subject to...
Well, let's give an example of that. So recently, Brian and I bought a duplex, right? And we are big fans of infinite returns. So we want to not put our own money if we can, because if you make money on someone else's money, it's even better than making it on your own. That's sort of our strategy. So we bought a duplex. We got a pretty good deal on it. And we went to a hard money lender, and we paid a pretty good chunk of interest, right?
Yes, we did.
But we didn't have to put any of our own money out of our pocket, right? So we were able to show the numbers on the deal, and the deal itself supported borrowing the money and including additional money for renovations.
Exactly. And then we, took that as our initial acquisition. Then we actually took it to a bank.
That's right.
And did a refinance on it.
To pay off the
original loan, which we did.
Yep, and we're continuing to finish up the renovation, and we're going to be selling the property shortly for a profit.
We're actually under contract right now.
That's right, and we'll be making money on a deal that we didn't put any of our own money in. And that's the point is that while you do need money to invest in real estate, it doesn't
have to be yours.
It does not have to be your own money. Mm-hmm. So there are other ways that you can invest in real estate with no money, of course. You could use like owner financing. I know a person right now that's buying an apartment complex, and they're getting a bank loan on it, and then they're using an owner second, essentially, to cover the down payment. Mm-hmm. And now, of course, you've got to get your bank to agree to that.
Yeah.
But if you have a good relationship with a bank, it's possible that you could get a relationship like that done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because we're talking about your first deal, you're probably not going to be able to negotiate an apartment complex. Yeah. One thing you could potentially do, though, is you could find an apartment complex that's a good deal, and you could come to somebody like Brian or Jeff and say, hey, guys, I found this great deal. I would like to do it. And we might say, you know what? We want to do it with you, and we might be able to get the bank financing and arrange that stuff, and you might get a piece of that deal for bringing it to us. So one way to get into it would be to form some kind of strategic partnership with someone who's already investing in real estate.
Yeah.
So do you got anything else that you can think of off the top of your head that might make sense to get involved in your first deal?
I mean, you kind of mentioned it on the apartment deal. If the seller of the property owns it free and clear, they could potentially finance you. Or if you've got other financing lined up, their equity in the property can act as your injection. They could carry a second, let's just say.
Right. So on a previous episode, we actually talked about your first deal here in Chattanooga, where you bought some properties and that was essentially your first investment deal. Is that right?
Second, yeah.
Second investment deal. So what did you do before that?
Bought a house in Memphis with traditional bank financing. But we did a hard money first, and then we refinanced.
So you got into that deal.
Basically, our out-of-pocket on that was the cost of the appraisal on each loan. So it was about $1,000 in appraisal costs and maybe like another $1,500 in loan costs.
And then you did hard money, got it stabilized.
And then we refinanced into a 30-year note, but really didn't have, we didn't have to come up with 20% down was the point.
Right. And
still own that house to this day, yeah.
It's great. So the point is it's possible for $1,000 to get into investing in real estate. And of course you could invest in, if you saved up $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000, you could invest in someone else's deal.
Or 15 of the ones I bought.
Yeah, that's right. right. Or another thing you could do, which I think is really useful to get involved in real estate, is to do some kind of strategy where you generate income through real estate. So like we mentioned the Airbnb thing, like the rental arbitrage, but you could look at marketing with a small amount of money to find wholesaling deals, like deals that are below market that you could sell to someone like us. And then you could take that profit that you make from doing those deals and use it to buy some of your own deals.
Yeah, I mean, to interject, you told me something the other day that I couldn't believe. You were speaking at a Real Estate Investors Association event up in Michigan, and you said you met a girl who owns a bunch of houses.
She does,
the way
free
she
and clear.
Acquired those houses was not by flipping houses, but flipping horses.
That's right.
Right.
She literally bought and sold horses and used the money from that to buy houses. Horses to houses strategy.
The point being is there are other asset classes. Like, for instance, I have a brother-in-law who goes out and he finds a deal on a used car, right? And, and he'll put maybe a little bit of money into it, but he's buying it significantly below market. Yep. And he's not necessarily using it to buy real estate per se, but what he's doing is essentially driving a car for free and then making money when he sells it. But there's no reason in that scenario you couldn't take those gains and eventually pile the cash.
Essentially, you can do whatever you want to make that money to buy real estate. So if you find a side hustle outside of your regular job, flipping horses, flipping cars, or writing blog articles and getting money from Amazon sales. It doesn't really matter. The point is, if you go out and you figure out a way to make some additional money on the side and you put that money aside, especially if you're going to do like a house hacking strategy where you only need 3.5% down, you have an opportunity to get into real estate for relatively quickly. And it's my firm belief that every person who wants to can get into real estate.
Yes.
You can do it with no money down through partnerships, through bank financing, through owner financing. You can save up a little bit of money and buy $1,000 to buy a house in Memphis, which, by the way, that's super creative. Good job for you on that. Or you can do, if you've built a reputation and you've made relationships with people that trust you, or maybe you just have really good credit, you can go borrow 100% financing from some hard money lenders, and you can get into real estate that way. So there's tremendous opportunities to get into real estate, and how you find your money isn't actually as important as that you do find the money and you get involved in real estate.
That's right.
All right, so we appreciate you watching this episode of the show. We would love it if you would subscribe to our show. Hit the little bell icon so that you get notified when new shows come up. Check us out on Facebook at oldfashionedrealestate.com. I think it'll be in a little graphic right here.
Yeah.
With all the different ways that you can find us.
Take your word for it.
Yeah, and we're also on Instagram. We don't do anything on Instagram, but, we're there, and we occasionally post pictures of us drinking at bars. So if you want to see pictures of Brian and Jeff drinking at a bar, then Instagram is where you would find that. So
there you have it.
All right, thanks
for joining us.
Cheers.